You know that saying, time flies when you're having fun? Well, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. The bad news is you've been lied to. The good news is you've been lied to. So this might be one of the only lies in your life you should actually be happy about, because that saying, time flies when you're having fun, seems to imply that those really rich, enjoyable, and memorable experiences are more fleeting than times of boredom and monotony. But both science and my own experiences seem to indicate otherwise.
Okay, so riddle me this. A few years ago, a friend of mine went on a 3-month-long extended backpacking trip in New Zealand. Sounds fun, right? Now, at that time, I wasn't doing anything even remotely as exciting. I was stuck in the humdrum monotony of waiting tables, plastic traying my life away. The most exciting things that would happen to me were things like having to bring in the wet patio furniture when it rained, making the restaurant sign edgy, or being told that I was a dank waitress. So basically, I was doing the same thing every day in, day out, the entire time my friend was gone. And for me, it seemed like the amount of time between when my friend left and when he got back was basically instantaneous. I barely even realized that he was gone.
A few months later, and the tables had turned. As I gazed out the tiny airplane window of my Norwegian Airlines flight to London, I saw the southern tip of Greenland come and go beneath me as we flew overhead and the sun rose. From that moment on, and for the next few months, it seemed time had slowed to a crawl.
So how come when my friend goes to New Zealand, time seems to just disappear? But when I go on my own journey, for slightly less time, time seems to stretch exponentially. Well, that makes total sense, doesn't it? Well, it would appear that the ticking of our watch might indicate that each second is the same duration as the next, but our brain has a much more malleable relationship with time. And scientists in 2004 illustrated this with a small experiment. So, let's pretend that we are in 2004, and such scientists have asked you to be in a simple experiment. No double-blind placebo studies or pills required. All you've got to do is look at a few photos. Ready? So if we're truly humans and not aliens, then one of those images should have seemed like it was on the screen longer than the others. But the reality is that they were all on the screen for exactly the same amount of time. But that second image seemed like it was on the screen longer because of something scientists call the oddball effect, which is a perceptual phenomenon whereby novel or unexpected stimuli result in longer perceived time durations. It's the reason why car crashes and near-death experiences seem to occur in slow motion, and in a less drastic scenario is the same thing that caused that stretching of time I experienced on that backpacking trip. To quote Joshua Foer from his book Moonwalking with Einstein, monotony collapses time, novelty unfolds it. It seems like every year goes by faster than the last. When I was a kid, I remember the gap between each Christmas being like an eternity. And the holiday season seemed to stretch on for a far longer amount of time than the little blip of existence it seems to now. I used to believe that the reason why each year gets shorter as I get older is because, well, the fact that as each birthday comes and goes, a year becomes a smaller and smaller amount of time compared to your ever increasing existence. And that thought is kind of terrifying because, well, by that logic, each year is going to go by faster and faster until eventually they have flown past you with such haste that you're left on the precipice of death, filled with regret and wondering where they all went. But this is where we turn those frowns upside down because, well, now you and I know that it doesn't have to be that way. The oddball effect tells us that we have a choice. So, how do we go about infusing our life with more novelty? Well, I think if COVID has taught us anything, it's taught us many things, but relevant to this video, I would say that travel is a privilege and one that we shouldn't take for granted. And I think that travel is probably the most efficient way to cram as much novelty as possible into an experience. I mean, from the culture shock, new food, hell, every step that you take, every move you make is completely new. What? But like I said, COVID, travel isn't necessarily the most feasible thing in the world right now. And that's okay, because literally all you have to do is something new. It could be something as simple as going to a new coffee shop, hiking on a new trail, trying something you've never done before. I'd be willing to bet that in your little corner of the world, there are hundreds, if not thousands of things that you have never experienced. And who knows, you might find a newfound love for your hometown. And I think that that's a good point to end on, because as much as this video might seem like it's preaching gallivanting through the world and globe-trotting and forsaking your friends and family in the name of experiencing things, no happy, meaningful, fulfilled life has ever existed without friends and family. And your relationships are something that you should also not be taking for granted. So include your loved ones as much as possible in these endeavors. And if you truly can't, then make sure to come back often and give them your love. So hopefully when this whole COVID thing is over, you can see all of your family, as I'm much looking forward to seeing mine. And I'll leave you guys on that.